I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Thank you for listening to Your Working Life, my podcast series featuring thought leaders in the career and personal growth arena. You spend a significant portion of your life at work, so I'm on a mission to provide you with tools, inspiration, and resources so you can enjoy your career and love your life. And I'm delighted to welcome my special guest to the show today, Gina Folk. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Gina, I'm really excited. We're going to dive into a juicy conversation about being authentically transparent and using our power wisely. But I want to tell the audience a little bit about you first. Gina Folk is a dynamic and inspirational leader of people, process, and change. She has more than 20 years of experience helping organizations and individuals to achieve outstanding performance results and has led global organizations and change efforts that have delivered improvements valued in the tens of millions of dollars. Her passion and talent to help others meet their full potential is displayed in the numerous leadership and excellence awards she has received in her tenure at a large Fortune 500 company. But Gina left senior management role in corporate America in 2010 to pursue a speaking, writing, and consulting career, and she currently works with companies of all sizes to train and mentor their direct line managers and supervisors, empowering them to become effective leaders. So Gina, welcome. I'm so excited. We're going to be talking about being authentically transparent. So what does that mean to you?
Well, first of all, when I was in my corporate career, transparency was one of these buzzwords that we all heard, and it was all about, letting others see through you, don't have any hidden agendas, things like that. Well, what happened, like many corporate buzzwords, is that it was used and the executives said they were being transparent, except that it wasn't authentic, which means that they still were not disclosing everything, and but they were hiding behind the mask of transparency. And for me, you can only be a leader if the people really understand you and believe you and can trust you. And the only way I know how to do that is to be authentic. So I started getting really frustrated and said, let's drop the word transparency unless you're going to add another word in front of it. And that is authentically transparent. Otherwise, you're really just more translucent than you are transparent.
Well put. So let's talk about this, because I know I've got leaders listening who are saying, okay, Gina, I get it. How can I be more authentically transparent as a leader? So let's look at this through the management lens.
Yeah. So one of the first things that I tell any leaders that I'm working with is, especially those that are first-time leaders or first-time managers, first-time supervisors, is that it's a little bit vulnerable, right? So you are putting yourself out there, you are being vulnerable. But the first thing I tell anybody that starts with the team is let your team know about you. Let your team know who you are, what makes you tick. And what I mean by that is really tell them about how you make your personal decisions. What are your personal and professional values? How do you prefer to communicate? What strengths or particular gaps do you have? Just really open your kimono up to let your team understand, really who you are and how you operate. Because once they understand who you are and how you operate, you can then take the focus off yourself and start to learn more about them. But they've got to understand you first.
Exactly. And I love that you said, hey, put it out there, put your strengths, your values. And what I really perked up on is how to communicate, right? Because we're not mind readers. And if you just put it out there and say, here's how I prefer to communicate, right? Here are my strengths. Here are my blind spots. Here's what I need from you. You have such clarity of expectations with your colleagues.
Yes. And it's so much easier to then work together because you don't have your team wasting time to try to figure out, hey, what's going on in that person's mind,
Right.
And believe me, when I talk about these things, I made these mistakes early on in my career because I was pretty sure everybody should read my mind when I first started. And I learned very quickly that's not the case through a lot of frustrating, difficult times. So
And I so appreciate you saying, look, share your blind spots, share the things that you don't excel at, because great leaders stock their team with wonderfully brilliant people that are going to complement what they don't do well. So all boats rise. So
Right.
thank you for saying that. That's really good to hear. So let's talk about this authentic transparency, Gina, and how it ultimately does impact the team.
Yeah, so when I work with teams, and this is myself as well, what I found was that when I was authentic, first of all, I felt better. So
Yeah,
when I wasn't hiding anything, I wasn't trying to be somebody that I wasn't, which oftentimes in management positions you feel like you have to be.
yeah,
And quite frankly, when I was coming up in my career, I was a young woman in the midst of many men, so I thought I had to be somebody that I wasn't. I
okay,
learned out really quickly, very quickly, that that didn't work very well. I learned that when I showed more of myself and stood in my truth and just was who I was, um, didn't hide anything, told my team everything, disclosed information when I could disclose it, then first of all, the gossip, a lot of the time that was spent on speculation of what was going on went away. The time that many employees use that's very unproductive, trying to figure out what the boss wants and is this going to be good enough, went away. Our communication paths opened up very quickly. So, what you find from your team is you get a lot more productivity. You get a team that's a lot more engaged, and a team that, as a leader, is going to respect you more because they feel like they know you. And when your
exactly.
team feels like they can know you and trust you, they will do wonders for you.
They
It's
will.
it's and your team. I mean, it's just truly amazing.
And I agree with you. You're earning that trust, right? It's not
Yes.
automatic.
No, not by
So
you have to earn it.
you talk about something that I think is so important, being authentically transparent in sharing why and how you make business decisions, right? Because sometimes that's the secret mystery. Why are, how are the leaders making the magic happen behind the curtain? And you're suggesting put it all out there.
Yes, because when the team knows how you make your business decisions, it doesn't mean that they're always right. It just says, all right, when I look at a situation, I'm going to look at it from all angles. Like when
Hmm.
I make a decision, I want to see who all the key players are. I want to understand the stakeholders. I want to understand my impact that I have on them, the impact on the business, the impact on my team. So when I could tell my team how I made decisions, not only did it make it easier for them maybe to make decisions in the future, but I was also teaching them at the same time maybe how they might tweak their decision making skills. And then for those team members that were interested in engaging in more conversation, many of them questioned why I made the decisions that I did, and I could learn to improve my decision making as well. So
Yeah.
it was really, when you put it out there instead of just saying do what I say because I said it because I'm the
Yeah.
boss,
Yeah.
it just becomes more of that two-way communication, and I got a lot more accomplished.
So, what are your thoughts, Gina, about sharing failures or things that just didn't work or decisions that, didn't come to fruition?
Well, it took me a while to figure this out because this becomes the vulnerability part again. Um, I had to learn early on that failure was nothing more than a learning exercise, right?
Yep.
For me, failure became simply, oh, that was feedback to myself and my team that maybe there was something we needed to do differently. So I am all about sharing, hey guys, I screwed up, right? Here, let's look at this, let's understand, and I suggest any leader do this. Let's look at what the problem was. Let's understand why it happened, and let's understand what we can do to move it forward. So I really believe those leaders, and I've watched it happen, the leaders that are willing to admit their mistakes and say, hey, we made a mistake, let's look at it, let's move forward. Not only does that make your team feel like they're more comfortable to quote unquote make mistakes, but that they're allowed to talk about their issues or potential failures as well. And when you open up that, again, it's being transparent. I'm not hiding anything. I'm not trying to make myself look better than I am. It shows that you're human and that you're not a superhero like some leaders want to show themselves,
Right.
right? And every hero, no matter who they are, has a blind spot or a
Right.
vulnerability point. So show it.
Everybody's got their kryptonite.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I so appreciate you're saying, look, failure's not going to stop me. It's a
Yeah.
moment in time. I'm learning from it. I'm going to fail forward and move past it.
Yeah, and that's a tough one. I mean,
It
for
is.
us and our humanity, our ego wants to kick in and say, "Oh, I'm perfect," but I think the perfection only comes by making mistakes, right? So,
Agreed. Agreed. So you talk so beautifully about using power wisely in your public speaking and in your consulting. How is power misconstructed and misused in the business world, or misconstrued, I should say?
Yeah, I think what I've seen, unfortunately, is power is misconstrued as, exerting brute force over another person,
Ah,
meaning
bullying. Yeah.
the leader says, do as I say, and
Hmm.
just get it done, right? I have never found that in any situation that I've worked in to be effective. I mean, it is effective short term, and there is a lot of productivity lost. And it very rarely do those things that are done with brute force and brute power like that sustain a long term. They usually break down, and they usually break down either after the leaders left or they break down by tearing apart teams. So the results usually are just very ineffective. They feel like they're the best way to do things, and they're just not.
And it certainly doesn't engender trust,
No,
right? I mean,
no. I mean, that's when you get the rolling eyes from your team members, like, okay,
right.
I'm going to do what you told me to do, but it's not going to be very effective.
Exactly. So let's talk about using power wisely. How can a manager or a leader use power wisely with their team?
Yeah, I have to tell you where I came up with this because it's kind of funny. I have a personal trainer and I work out a couple of days a week, and in my workouts he always talks about things and the way the body works and the way the body gets strengthened. And in this one particular instance, he said, come on, Gina. I was at the point where I was just done. I didn't want to do anymore. And he's like, Gina, work faster, faster, push harder, push harder. Come on. He said, strength plus speed equals power. And I
Wow.
went, oh, whoa, that's a whole new definition of power because in your body you have to have a combination of strength and speed to equal the power. And I thought, wow, that really takes me into the business level, and I can understand how to apply that in the business level. So for me, in business, a position of strength means you have a very good team. So you have a strong team that's set for doing what you need it to do, and then moving forward swiftly with speed, meaning don't sit around and analyze too much. You have to act. So when you have the base of the strength and a good team, and you have the courage and the drive to act, you're gonna get that power.
Nice. I love the analogy with your personal trainer. Good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff. So let's talk about being the model, right? Being the role model as the leader. Why is it important that leaders be the role model for their teams and even other colleagues who don't directly report to them, but role models in the organization at large?
Um, so I don't believe that you can get anything you're not willing to show, right?
Okay.
I mean, I see so often that people say, "Do as I say, not as I do,"
Yeah.
and I just think that's so ineffective because again, it breaks down the trust, and two, it says it makes people spend an awful lot of time saying, "Well, if you're not going to do it, I'll do it," but why? So you're getting your productivity and the results that you're getting from your team members are slack. I also think that actions speak far louder than words ever thought about speaking. It's for me, that's a mantra that I use. Actions speak louder than words because you can certainly say things and your actions tell you a totally different story
Right.
when it's all said and done. And
Right.
so I am a big proponent of any leader model the behavior. So if you want your team members to be a certain way, to have a certain attitude, to have a certain mindset, that you as the leader must exhibit that first before you take it out into the world. I just see it all too often. And I was one of those, I mean, I was a leader that certainly was one of those, just do what I say and everything will be fine. And I was doing something completely different than what I was asking my team to do. So, and modeling is the way that people learn. So many people learn differently, and a
Right.
lot of people learn by watching other people's behaviors.
So do you have role models in your world now that you're in the consulting and coaching realm and not in, a single organization?
Um, my role models, truly, I watch role models that are out in the world. Okay, it's funny the show Undercover Boss. I actually love that show, and I love that show because I think it shows to me some of these leaders that are willing to do what it takes to model themselves differently. So I usually watch that show and pick out a few. There's not any that come, straight to my mind. Some
It's
of my
okay.
role models are back in my corporate days, and some of the
Sure.
leaders that taught me some of the things that I was doing and that I learned to do when I was a leader. And most of them were people that I watched their actions. And, everything they told me was exactly what they did. And so I
Nice.
really look back to them now.
They walk the walk. So
They
Gina,
did.
tell us about your leadership and executive coaching, because so many of the listeners, I'm sure, are saying, I need this. I need this coaching. I need this opportunity to grow as a leader beyond what's happening inside my organization. So how can they access you?
Yeah. So I need to just give you a little bit of my philosophy on how you
Please.
learn how to be a leader, if you don't mind. And that's going to be very short. I see so often, and I've been to them, leadership seminars, and they're great and they're wonderful. I don't know how to teach somebody to be a leader in a seminar.
Mm,
So my whole philosophy says I work with people that want to learn more about how to make themselves successful by making their team successful. And the only way that I know how to do that is to work with them one on one,
yep.
to find out what's going on in their team, to work with their team, to ask some questions, and then to come up with solutions. You can't learn. I couldn't learn how to be a leader in a seminar. I don't think anybody can. So I really love working with people one on one. And to me, people leadership and teaching people how to be a leader is like putting a puzzle together, because there's not a standard answer for everybody. It's very different, but there's pieces that have to be put together in the right order. And we would work through that one on one based on the circumstances of the individual and their team members. And really, it's anybody that's willing to, if you want to be a good leader of people, you have to be willing to change yourself and to take the focus off of yourself and onto your people. So
Brilliant.
I really look for those individuals that are they're really interested in making their lives easier, but you make your life easier by making your people successful. So most of my work that I do is one-on-one. And it really would be I want to get to know the business. I want to get to know what the objectives of the team are, what's going on in the team, and then we'll work on some solutions from there.
Brilliant. And Gina, how do we find you online? I know you've got a website. You've also got an active social media presence.
Yeah, so I have my website. It's www.peopleleadership.com. And I am very excited to say that my book is coming out officially published tomorrow, which is
Woohoo!
exciting. Yes,
Fantastic.
that's very exciting. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn, because so many of my people that I work with are businesses. So I am on LinkedIn as well.
And so tell us a little bit about the book before you go, so we can be on the lookout for it.
Yeah, so it's People Leadership, 30 Strategies to Ensure Your Team's Success. It was a book that I wrote based on my learnings over the corporate career that I had and various organizations that I led, or I was working with other people in organizations to help them with their leadership in that career. It's a book designed to be very easy to read. I know leaders don't have a ton of time to read, and so it's very easy, simple. It's got tips, and then it's got a kind of a story at the end, so people understand how they actually can see the tips in action when they work, or how they could be tweaked. So it is a very simple book, but it was designed that way on purpose. And I didn't set out to be a writer, but I was called to do it, and I'm actually very excited about it. So
Brilliant. And can we buy it on Amazon? What's the best way to
you
purchase the
can
book?
you can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can find that from my website as well. Not
Fantastic.
directly, but it'll have all the links as well
All the
from my
links.
website.
Well, Gina, congratulations. I wish you great success. Thank you for sharing your time and expertise with me today.
I appreciate your time, and look forward to connecting with you again, maybe.
Absolutely. I hope our professional paths cross again in person next time.
Absolutely.
Gina, be well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all of you for tuning into Your Working Life, where my goal is to help you design your career destiny so it doesn't happen by default. True career and life satisfaction is possible, and it's time to embrace what you love doing so you can do more of it. I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Take good care.